Who was this philosopher king, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher? He believed that virtue, defined as wisdom, courage, justice, and moderation, is the ultimate excellence. Marcus Aurelius advocated for focusing on our reactions to external events rather than the events themselves, stating, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He emphasized the transitory nature of life, urging us to live in the present moment.
A cordial greeting to those who join us today in this experience of internationalization of the curriculum. When developing plans to incorporate proposals that improve the internationalization of study plans, we have proposed this activity as keynote lecture for this introductory course to political philosophy. This activity will be carried out in English. It is the first time we carried out this type of activity. And for this, I have invited one of our students from this course. This is Julian Alberto Lopera. Today, Julian presents us with his presentation. Julian, first, I want to thank you for accepting this challenge of making your presentation in English. I also thank the students of this course who are here today supporting this activity. Once his presentation is finished, we will give the floor to the classmate and colleagues for political philosophy. Good, let's listen to Julian with his reflection on this idea from Plato, the philosopher king. Julian, let's start, please.
Good evening for everyone. I hope you're doing well. So I'm going to start with the lecture about Plato, as the proper as well said. Dear college, today we gather to delve into one of the most profound and enduring concepts in political philosophy, the idea of the philosopher king as proposed by Plato in this seminal work, The Republic. This concept has resonated throughout the annals of political thought, promoting us to deeply consider the nature of leadership, justice, and knowledge. It beckons us to reflect on the essence of governance and qualities that constitute an ideal ruler. Plato's philosopher king represents an ideal ruler who seamlessly blends political acumen with philosophical wisdom. Quote the character of Socrates in the Republic, Plato concepted the primitive state, one that ensured the greatest happiness and justice for all the citizens, can only be achieved under the guidance of a ruler endowed with absolute knowledge, a knowledge that can only be attained through rigorous philosophical study. This groundbreaking idea compels us to examine the very foundations of governance and ponder who is truly qualified to lead. According to Plato, true philosophers, those who possess unveiling love for truth and understanding of the third forms, are uniquely suited to govern justly. Socrates asserts that cities will never be free from their troubles until philosophers become kings, or kings embrace the spirit and wisdom of philosophy. This assertion is not merely a critique of governments of his time, but a hopeful vision of a future where knowledge and wisdom direct political life. For Plato, the guardians of the ideal state must embody exceptional virtues, fearfulness, temperance, justice, and a keen memory. These guardians undergo an extensive and rigorous training process. For 35 years, they immerse themselves in the study of the forms and other disciplines. They then spend another 15 years in minor governmental roles to gain practical experience, ultimately absent leadership at the age of 50. This extensive preparation underscored the vital importance of education and cultivation of wisdom in leadership, contrasting sharply with the reality where many leaders ascend to power without the requisite knowledge to govern effectively. To fully grasp the formation of these philosopher kings, we must explore the comprehensive education they receive. Their training encompasses a broad variety of disciplines, including mathematics, dialectics, gymnastics, and music. Each discipline contributes to shaping a balanced leader, one who can navigate both the abstract world of ideas and the practical realities of everyday life. This holistic approach to education fosters leaders who are not only intellectually adept but also physically and morally robust. The metaphor of a ship of state in particular evocative illustrated Plato's critique of contemporary governments. Socrates like his opinion, democracy to achieve where mountain sailors lacking navigation skills vie for control, disregarding the expertise of a true pilot. This metaphor remains extremely relevant, serving as a cautionary tale about the perils of leadership devoid of proper preparation and understanding. Throughout history, there have been attempts to realize this ideal. Plato himself endeavored to educate Dionysius II of Syracuse in the principles of philosophy, though the results were less than satisfactory. Nonetheless, figures like Alexander the Great and Marcus Aurelius have often been cited of embodiments of philosopher-king ideal. Alexander, tutored by Aristotle, was not only formidable conqueror, but also exhibited deep interest in culture and knowledge. His efforts to integrate Greek and Persian culture reflect an application of philosophical principles in political practice. Marcus Aurelius, an effective Roman emperor and style philosopher, left behind his meditations, a testament to his profound contemplation of duty and virtue. The concept of the philosopher king has also been adapted and enriched with various philosophical traditions. In the Islamic world, philosophers like Al-Farabi envision this ideal conjunction with the figure of the prophet legislator, suggesting that the ideal ruler should marry philosophical knowledge with a deep understanding of the human purpose. Al-Farabi argued that basic state was one of the prioritized official education of its citizens, necessary in a ruler with a highly developed sense of human existence ultimate purpose. This adaptation highlights Plato's enduring influence, even in diverse cultural and intellectual contexts. Similarly, medieval Jewish thought integrated the philosopher-king ideal, adapting it to its own needs and context. Biblical figures such as Moses, Abraham, and Solomon were reverenced models of ideal rulers, combining wisdom, justice, leadership. The translation of the words of Al-Farabi and Averroes in Hebrew brought these concepts into Jews' intellectual discourse, where they were adapted to address contemporary challenge. Aristotle, in his Politics, offers a critique and an alternative vision to Plato's ideal. He proposed that equitable participation for all citizens in governments is more practiced than ruling class of philosophers. Nevertheless, Aristotle acknowledged that in exceptional cases, where an individual surpasses their peers in virtue, it is natural for individual to lead. This perspective presents a more pragmatic tool, still virtue-based approach to leadership, underscoring the importance of moral and intellectual excellence in governments. As we reflect on our now society, we must ask ourselves, are we prepared to value and seek leaders who not only possess political skills, but also a deep knowledge and love for the truth? How can we cultivate an education system that prepares our future leaders not just in the mechanic of governments, but also in the pursuit of philosophical wisdom? Plato's Philosopher King reminds become inspiring us to aspire to a government grounded in wisdom and justice. While the path to this ideal is undoubtedly challenging and fraught with obstacles, is vision worthy of our collective endeavor. Let us continue to reflect and strive towards a society where knowledge and justice are the guiding principles of our leadership. Thank you very much for your attention.
Good. Thank you very much, Julian. Coming on now, let's give the floor to our audience. We are going to collect some opinions of the topic today, at hand today. The dynamics will be the following. We listen to the ideas proposed by some of our attendants. And later, Julian will give a closing based on the comment made.
Good evening. Listen to me.
Yes, Pavel, please.
My question is the following. Do you consider that the understanding of the idea of God would guarantee good governance from a division from a PowerPoints of a view or idea of the philosopher king would only be applicable to monarchies?
Please, Julian, read in the chat. Javier León.
Hi, good evening. It's Javier León. I would like to talk a little bit about a speech that Hannah Arendt made in 1954 in a university in the United States, talking about these topics that I think that is interesting because she talks about something different because she believes, Hannah Arendt, that in the case of Socrates and Plato it's a difference in this idea, because she believes that Plato came with this idea for the philosopher as a king in a way that the philosophers can ensure their position in the society. Why she said that? Because their theory, or her theory, is that when in the trial to Socrates, as we know, he finally was dead. Plato was really in disagree with this position, because he thinks that the trial was unfair, because the Socrates tried to convince the judges with rhetorics and not with the truth. Then the point for Hannah Arendt is, in the case of Plato, he thinks that it's different between a wise man and a skilled man, and the skilled man is the political, the wise man is the philosopher. Then he thinks at the same as the body, the soul must rule the body, in the society must be the same. And in this case, as the soul must be as the philosopher, and the body, it will be the people that is the skilled people that will be ruled by the philosopher that is like a soul. Then I think it's an interesting discussion that Hannah Arendt did in this conference, because she's comparing all the cave myth and all the Plato philosopher with how it's a big difference between Socrates and Plato, and compare with their position for the soul and the body. That's my comment.
Thank you, Juan. Greetings, Pedro Pablo. What would you like to add to the discussion?
Yes. Well, I agree with Javier León. It's an interesting topic. Talk about this metaphor, this recurrent analogy between the body and the society, and it's precisely the topic that I choose today. Essay that we have to do in this last phase, and it's interesting because it's a recurrent metaphor that is transcultural. It's used not only by the Greeks, but by the Chinese, by the Indians, and is a metaphor that reflects the unity character that is needed in a polis, is needed in a nation, and it's also a metaphor that gives place to the philosopher, to the king philosopher, to the philosopher king, because it lays a place to a subject that came to the body and held it and made the things good for it. So usually the king, the philosopher, is also the healer, is also the physician or the doctor that is able to heal the diseases that attack the nations. So it's a very intricate topic for me to talk in English, so I will stop here.
Thank you, Pablo.
Professor, I would like to apport to the conversation.
Yes.
Good night to everyone. First of all, I'm going to say thanks to Julian because of his presentation, and I would like to apport to the conversation according to the question that made Pavel Rodriguez, because I was thinking about it I think it's important to solve it. My partner in this class, Pavel Rodriguez, said or tried to link the idea of good to the idea of a good governance. So, first of all, I have to say that Plato in the Republic affirmed that the only person who can be trusted to do well in terms of govern is the philosopher, because they don't have greed in their lives. They love truth as a natural reason, and also this love allows him to guide other people to do the same. This in terms of the natural love of the philosophers, because they are morally correct. And intellectually, they are good also because they have full knowledge of reality just by themselves. This knowledge of reality results at the end of the Republic as the complete knowledge of the forms of virtue, beauty, and good. So this is the first part of argumentations that can solve the question of my partner, Pavel. And the second one, I agree with him because we can't talk the same words that Plato used in Republic to nowadays, because Plato affirms that the government is assumed by just one person, a king who ideally must be a philosopher. In Colombia, we don't have a king. We talk about attribution of powers. So, in this system, how can the good be applied? I don't think that a good government depends just on the good terms, because, and this is a critique of the system, in Colombia currently, to hold a popular elected office, for example, the mayor or the Congress, you only need to have the majority of votes. If you achieve the votes, you are now a civil officer. In Colombia, there is no limitation on studies. Through Congress, they want to approve a project that requires every candidate to have at least a professional degree to aspire to the position of a public office. I like to, I would like to share to all the meeting the question, do you think that this is the way to improve the political quality in Colombia? Because we have Congress that have no studies. Every person in Colombia can reach the Republic Congress, and it's not necessary to you to be a philosopher, to be a lawyer, to be a doctor. No, not at all, um, not a professional is required. So Colombia already has enough problems without having inexperienced un, or unprepared leaders. I will going to end my participation with a sentence that my partner Julian Rojo shared before, and is Socrates claimed that the cities will never be free of troubles until philosophers assume the political power. We are far away of this situation because in Colombia, you can be part of the government without any studies.
Thank you very much, Santiago. Any other ideas to share? Does anyone want to add anything else to the discussion?
Maybe I would like to go forward with the Santiago's comment. I was thinking also about that because, of course, I believe when the philosopher is a king, he has a big advantage about what he knows about the good, but he has an disadvantage because he doesn't know the details about the administration for the for the city, the kingdom. In the case that Santiago is talking about, I think that is my point of view, of course. We can say that in the three branches that the government has, that is two that is I think that the philosopher is a good idea in the legislative and the justice branches. That is, I think, like a thing in the reason and the judgment in the people, in a person, and the executive is the one that must do the work, the daily work, and that's the reason, because it's the executive branch. Then maybe in this one, it's not necessary to be a philosopher. You need to execute, you need to do the work. It's like the arms and legs in a body, and the other ones are like the soul, thinking about in the reason and judgment. This is just my comment.
Thank you very much, Javier. Okay, we continue. Julian, thank you very much. Thank you so much. And now, Julian, to complement his speech, I would like to ask you some questions that can provide clarity in some aspects regarding some contribution that his colleagues have made, which I think we should take can take challenge for our times. Okay, Julian?
Okay.
About the qualities. What are the qualities that Plato believed a philosopher king should possess?
The qualities of Plato belief a philosopher king should possess include wisdom, intelligence, the capacity for logical thinking, especially that, moderation, justice, detachment from worldly desires.
That's how it is. According to Plato, the philosopher king must have a deep love of truth and virtue, as well as an understanding of ideal form. Now about the most appropriate roles. How does Plato argue that philosopher kings are the most suitable roles for a society?
Plato argues that philosopher kings are the most suitable rulers for a society because they possess deeper knowledge and a more complete understanding of what is just and good.
Yes, sir. By being guided by reason and wisdom, philosopher king can make decisions that benefit society as a whole rather than acting in the interests of themselves or a specific group. Now, let's talk about the role of education. According to Plato, what role does education play in the training of philosopher king?
Okay, according to Plato, education plays a fundamental role in the training of philosopher kings. Propose rigorous education systems that includes training in mathematics, science, ethics, and of course, philosophy.
Indeed, Julian, this education would not only develop intellectual capacity, but also cultivate virtue and love through. Let's talk about the criticism of this idea of the philosopher king, Julian. What possible challenges for or criticism exists regarding the Platonic concept of the philosopher king?
Okay, the fourth one, I'm going to tell you all these point by point. The fourth one is Plato's vision of an ideal ruler, a philosopher king, can be considered utopian. The second one, separating children for their parents for education and choosing the modes promising ones could be difficult to implement in reality. The third one, Aristotle, also criticizes the lack of realism of Plato's proposal. The fourth one, Aristotle thought that a broader distribution of political power was necessary. Plato's political theory is not democratic. In their ideal state, philosophers will be at the top of the political structure in government, which is a problem for a democratic perspective. Courts, well, another criticism will be that when philosophers occupy positions of great power and authority, they may be tempted to use them for personal purposes, that is, due to corruption. The concentration, and this is the last one, the concentration of power in the hands of a few always dangerous.
Will be dangerous. Okay. Very good, Julian. Specifically, some criticism of Plato's concept of the philosopher king include concerns about the lack of safeguard to prevent use of power. Corruption, the possibility that the role of philosopher king could become a form of intellectual dictatorship, please. Excuse me. Now let's move on to contextualizing Plato's idea. How does Plato's idea of the philosopher king compare to modern theory of government and leadership?
Okay, Plato's idea of the philosopher king is compared to some modern theories of government leadership that emphasize the importance of expert knowledge in ethics in political decision making.
Yes, I share your opinion. However, while Plato proposed a government run by a select elite of philosophers, many modern theories instinct promote democratic participation and diversity of perspective. Of course, it is necessary to talk about idea and reality. Let's get to this, Julian. In what ways might the implementation of a philosopher king system differ in practice from Plato idealism vision?
Implementing a philosopher king system in practice could be different from Plato's idealized vision due to challenges such as properly selecting and training leaders, resistance from establishing mentorship groups, and ensuring accountability and responsibility.
I agree. Wisdom and power, Julian. Can you explain Plato's view of the relationship between wisdom and political power?
Okay, Plato sees a close relationship between wisdom and political power and believes that those who possess knowledge and virtue are best suited to rule.
Yes, sir. Plato considered wisdom to be a fundamental requisite for making just an benevolent decision that benefit all of a society. Finally, Julian, the issue of corruption. How does Plato address the potential for corruption among the philosopher king?
Plato addresses the potential for corruption among philosopher kings by proposing a rigorous selection and training process, as well as insisting on the importance of virtue and justice in the exercise of power.
Yes. Furthermore, he suggests that the community must be alert and prepared to resist any tendency toward corruption among its leader. Good, Julian. I don't know if you want to say anything more on the subject to close this space.
No, sorry, I have now more comments according to the ideas we already have commented in this space.
Thank you very much, Julian.
Anytime, Peter.
What Plato says explicitly is that until philosophers' role as king, or those who now call themselves king and rulers, generally and adequately philosophize. That is until political power and philosophy completely coincide, the cities will have no rest from evils. There can be no happiness, public or provide in any other city. So for Plato, the ideal roles must have political skill and also the philosophical knowledge. The power of a king must be based on his wisdom. However, we agree with Aristotle that the idea of a state government exclusively by philosopher is unrealistic. Obviously, it is anti-democratic idea, but it is even an authoritarian idea. An idea that easily promotes dictatorship by some megalomaniac ruler. A philosopher is nothing more than human being, susceptible to the being corrupt like any other human being with political power. I want to finish by reading a phrase that seemed to me clearly define the problem. We must not hope or even wish that king will become philosopher or that philosopher will become kings, because the position of power inevitably spoil the correct use of reason. This is a phrase from Kant that we find in Perpetual Peace, and with which we agree. And with this last thing, we say goodbye to this academic activity. I'm very grateful to our student, Julian Rojo, for his role in this experience. Likewise, I thank every one of the people who join us today on this conference. Until next time.
Thank you, teacher.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. Good night.